combat jiu-jitsu basically was what I wanted to do before ABI. It was like I was trying to get it sanctioned. I went to the commission because once you implement strikes, then you got to get it sanctioned. So I went to the commission 2012 and I had some connections and we tried to get it passed and we got it sanctioned. But not with the rules I wanted. They said, because I wanted no cage, no gloves, 1 10-minute round. They said, we're gonna keep it in a cage because this sounds weird, and we're gonna do 3 2-minute rounds. I'm like, 3 2-minute rounds? You can't do shit in 2 minutes. That's nothing. And then they go, okay, 3 3-minute rounds. I'm like, fuck. 3 minutes is not, 5 minutes is nothing. 5 minutes on the ground, that's not shit. That's nothing. So that's all I could get. So we tried it out, and there was a local amateur MMA show called University of MMA here in LA the promoter of that show, he's the one who helped me get it sanctioned through the commission. So we had like one special combat jiu-jitsu match and in the middle of this card, amateur MMA card, and you know, we had to wear gloves. It was in the cage. In combat jiu-jitsu in a cage looks like just pussified MMA. It looks like shit. Like, wait a minute, they're not striking standing and only striking on the ground. So I got like mixed reviews, kind of came and went. And then I tried it again, next show. Go, let's do one again, see what happens. Did it again, mixed results. And then I thought, it's just not gonna, because I knew in my head, combat jiu-jitsu on open mats, like if you watch Abu Dhabi, imagine Abu Dhabi like last year. Those mats, you visualize that whole Anaheim Convention Center, but they're allowed to hit. All of a sudden, I go, oh shit, are you kidding me? It looks gangster. But you put it in a cage, it looks like shit. I just decided, you know what? Let's just do sub only. You know what? So I don't have to deal with the commission. It's not gonna work in a cage. It's just not. So let's just do submission only and see where we go see what happens with that. So, because it was the backup plan that we start a submission only tournament, EBI. That's when it started. So fuck it. I'm not gonna deal with this shit. So we did it. So now the sport is born. Now I didn't invent submission only, you know what I mean? But this format, you know, is where it isn't a draw at the end, because that like Metamorph was around, but there was draws. Like if there was no submission, there'd be a draw. I knew that you couldn't really have a tournament like that. I thought about it, like how could we do it that way and still have a tournament? There was like different ways we could go with it. I'm like, this just is gonna be too hard. What if there's a draw? What if there's a 60-man tournament and every match is a draw? That's a disaster. That's a disaster waiting to happen. So then I thought of the EBIOT and all that. But anyways, so once we started that show, then right away we saw that the most important thing in sub only are leg locks. It's the most important thing. So I was trying to put together combat jiu-jitsu to really break down, just to get data on what's the most important positions in jiu-jitsu when there's strikes involved. What's the most important thing? Everybody gets involved in jiu-jitsu with the self-defense aspect in mind, and most people, that's the number one aspect initially. It's like you want something that works when there's strikes, implement it, right? A new arena for the modern day leg lock game was formed, and boom, and you saw it right away. So right away, that changed what we were doing here. Like right away, I'm like, oh shit, you know, this is my show. We better get on top of leg lock. So right away, we went head first, no delay. A lot of schools, a lot of traditional schools are still hesitant. They're still not even on leg locks yet. They're like, no leg locks. They choose not to, no leg locks. Fuck that, fuck that. We'll just stay away from that shit. Like still, the longer you wait, ooh, good luck catching up, dude. You better jump on that now. You don't want your students getting wrecked at open mats. You know what I mean? As a coach, when my students get tapped out by something that I didn't prepare them for, it's my fault. I feel like, of course, that's my fault. That's my fault. One of my students got, I was backstage at a MMA show in Vegas, amateur MMA show, Tough Enough. And some guy from Gracie Barra, some Brazilian guy, said, hey man, I got this new sweep, check this out, it's from Half Guard. I know you like Half Guard. Of course he said it with an accent. And he shows me the waiter sweep from Deep Half, and I'd never seen it before. I'm like, that's pretty cool, I like that, you know? And then I forgot about it. I didn't videotape it or not, I just said, that's kind of cool, man, thank you. Shit, okay. And then I just went on with my day. And then one of my students, maybe 6 months later, at an IBJJF tournament, gets hit with the waiter sweep twice. I'm like, that's that motherfucking sweep that Gracie Barra guy showed me. So I taught, and I felt bad. I'm like, fuck, I should have brought it into the system. Because that's what I generally do. When we're bringing new stuff in from, we don't care who it's from, Ryan Hall, some dude in Africa, some dude in Colombia. I don't give a shit. We're bringing in new shit, right? So, and I didn't bring this one in. I got a little lazy. So right from that point, I made that guy, and it was Eric Cruz, Campella. I said, master that shit, bring it in, and we're gonna start teaching it for 2 weeks. And then boom, now it's part of the warm-up system. After EBI 10, I went back to the commission, and I asked them if I could do combat jiu-jitsu now. We've already done 10 EBIs. They were, the guys in the amateur commission, most of them do jiu-jitsu. A couple black belts, brown belts, so they loved EBI. And then once I went back and I said, can I do combat jiu-jitsu out of a cage on mats, just like EBI, exactly like EBI, but with palm strikes on the ground? They were so down right away. They go, yes, 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 let's go. So then EBI 11, that's when we first introduced combat jiu-jitsu. We had the regular EBI tournament, and then we had a 4-man combat jiu-jitsu tournament. So, and now we've evolved into just combat jiu-jitsu worlds, which is basically EBI with palm strikes. That's all combat jiu-jitsu worlds. It's still the same thing. 16-man tournament, 10-minute regulation, still EBI, OT, rounds. It's the same thing with just palm strikes. It's EBI with a turbocharger. So now we can really now we don't have stand-ups, we have get-downs. So in MMA, if there's no action on the ground, refs are standing up fighters all the time. EBI, we're not interested in getting data on striking. We just want data on the ground. So after a minute standing, we have get downs. We bring them down to the ground. And so now with combat jiu-jitsu, now we're really getting the data, massive data on what positions work best, which jiu-jitsu positions work best in MMA. Super important to me. From day one, that's what this has all been about for me, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. It's a special operations on bottom game, no gi, with strikes. It's always been that. So that's what combat jiu-jitsu worlds is all about. It's all about preparing aspiring MMA fighters for a career in MMA, and also just finding out which positions in jiu-jitsu, leg lock positions as well, are best when striking is involved, and which ones are not good when striking is involved. So we've done several shows, 4, 5, 6. We're gonna keep doing them and keep accumulating data. We're gonna get a really good idea of what jiu-jitsu is the best when strikes are involved, whether it's MMA or on the streets. I remember Carlos Gracie Jr. came and did a seminar at Jean-Jacques, and I remember asking him, like, what do you think about, because basically in the gi, we're just grabbing and yanking and pulling on collars and sleeves. Is that gonna affect our no gi and MMA training? And he had a great answer. He didn't really answer the question, but he did open my eyes. He goes, listen, if you get really good at de-gripping people from grabbing your clothing, in a street fight, people always grab clothing. They're not gonna be able to control you. You're gonna be able to de-grip them easily and use their clothing against them. And I thought, wow, that I never heard that before. That makes sense, okay. So I kind of shut me up, but still didn't address the MMA issue. No one's wearing, a top, no one's grabbing collars and sleeves. And for me, as I went on, I noticed, it was obvious, like, if your fighting stance is grabbing a collar and grabbing a sleeve, and then the guy doesn't have a collar and a sleeve, then your fighting stance changes. And if your fighting stance changes, man, that's everything. You got to fight a whole different way. And if there's no collar or sleeve to grab, how are you going to control him? The only way is with body locks, double underhooks, overhooks, head and arm from the top, which I call homie control. And if you can't control their body with a clinch, you got to go 2-on-1s and control the arm. You know what I mean? So that needs a lot of work. You can't just switch just because you understand that you have to switch. Yeah, if they don't have a jacket, yes, I'd go, I'd grab overhooks and underhooks and head control. Yes, I understand that. Doesn't take a genius. No, but do you understand that that takes a long time to master those clinches and being able to move in those clinches and being able to set up sweeps and submissions with those clinches? Yeah, anybody knows how to do an overhook. Everybody. But there's a giant difference between a 10th grade wrestler who's pretty good at wrestling, been wrestling since 6th grade, now he's in the 10th grade, he's got an overhook, he's standing, compared to like Dan Henderson's Olympic style overhook. If you had a picture of each one, they would look the same. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between Dan Henderson's overhook and some 9th grade wrestler. You know, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But as an athlete, you know that there's a world of difference there. You just can't see it from a picture. But you have to spend years with that overhook, that simple position. So anyway, when I first started jiu-jitsu, I didn't think I could play guard. I thought my legs were too short. So right away, I didn't play guard. I was always playing half guard. Got into lockdown stuff and quarter guard stuff, underhook game. I was all about a sweep called old school sweep, which is just underhook, grabbing the foot, half guard, all half guard. I actually didn't think my legs were suitable for anything guard. Because Royce Gracie was like 6'1", 6'2". I thought, he's tall. Jean-Jacques, tall. He played guard, he's tall. I got short little Mexican legs. So I didn't think I could play guard. What ended up happening was, when I was a blue belt, I was in the finals of the Santa Cruz tournament, the US Open in Santa Cruz. And I was going against Dan Camarillo, who's the brother of Dave Camarillo, both back then in the West Coast scene. Everybody knew Dan Camarillo and Dave Camarillo, the brothers there. They were black belts in judo who came in and started training with Ralph Gracie in San Francisco. And they were blue belts, but they were black belts in judo. So everybody knew. They were like, you don't want to, as a blue belt, you didn't want to go against Dan and Dave Camarillo. They were training with BJ Penn. This is the early days of Ralph Gracie. So I'm in the finals with Dan, and I'm in his guard, and there's like about a minute left, and one of my instructors, Renato Magno, who was one of Jean-Jacques' right-hand men back then, he was the ref. So it was tie, and he was going to give me the match. He told me, if you would have just stayed in this guard and not done anything, I would have given you the match. You would have won. But what I ended up doing in the guard is I tried to get out. I tried to posture up, and Dan armbarred me. And that scared the shit out of me. That was like Jaws for me. Like for me, that was like, oh my God, the guard is the most dangerous position ever. It just scared the shit out of me. And my arm was hurt for like a couple months. I'm like, that was like watching, when you watch Jaws, you don't ever want to go in the ocean. And you watch Jaws, you want to keep your kids from a life of scuba diving, have them watch Jaws a couple times at 8. They won't be there. You don't have to worry about them going deep sea diving and shit like that. So that's what it was for me. The guard is like, oh my God, this thing is so, I was between his legs and he armbarred me. So, and still at that point, I didn't think I could play guard. But what ended up happening was I would end up in armbar positions. And from the armbar position, when they're on their back, there's a triangle right there. So I started doing triangles from the armbar position. Like I'm trying to get an armbar, and then I would triangle. So I got pretty good at triangles from the spiderweb position, which means they're on their back, armbar position. I got pretty good at triangles. So then every now and then in the full guard, I put out a triangle, and I'm like, man, maybe I can play guard. Maybe my legs are long enough to play guard. So then I really started diving into the guard. Late blue belt and purple belt. That's when I really got into the guard. Still in the gi, did very little no gi. There really wasn't a no gi at all. The only time we did no gi was after class. We'd get a couple guys, take off our gis, and then we'd try to go. A little bit, but we didn't do that much. The first style I developed in the gi with the guard was just going after my opponent's right arms. Real simple. The whole gi, no gi debate thing has been going on forever, and it started as soon as I started. I got my black belt and I started teaching no gi 100% of the time. It's always been gi. Everyone asks me gi, no gi. People are like, oh, how do you disrespect the gi? I'm like, I'm not disrespecting the gi. I'm trying to make jiu-jitsu better for MMA. That's it. I'm not disrespecting nothing. It sounds like I am because I get all this heat and going back and forth, and everyone's telling me I was crazy. Look at all the Abu Dhabi guys. They all come from the gi. And I would say, well, everyone starts with the gi. We're all starting with the gi. There is no gi schools. There was no, there was like Luta Livre in Brazil, but in the United States, you had to go to an MMA gym to go pure no gi. And, and then Roger Gracie after all this. No, first it was Marcelo Garcia. First, I'm the crazy one. And then Marcelo Garcia does an interview, and he says that it's very important for him to, when he trains with the gi, that he uses grips and clinches that'll work no gi. He said it's very important to him. I'm like, it's very important to me too. That's what I'm talking about. He said you don't want two separate games. You don't want a gi game, pure no gi game, and then you go no gi and you can't use any of those techniques. Because you want your gi game to have as many similarities to your no gi game as possible. That way you can go back and forth and there's not such a big difference. I'm like, exactly. And then he said he trains gi and no gi 50-50. And I'm like, oh, that's a little closer to what I'm saying now. So he was the first one. And then Roger Gracie, he says, he has a quote, famous quote, 80% of BJJ is useless in MMA. 80% of BJJ is useless in MMA. In quotes, Roger Gracie. And I'm like, that's exactly what I've been saying. So now Roger Gracie says it. He's saying it. And then Rickson says 70% of BJJ doesn't work in MMA. Roger said 80, Rickson said 70, still the same thing, still close enough. So the argument that the gi and no gi is the same, and Roger and Rickson and Marcelo are saying it's not the same, just like I was saying, it's not the same. Now you look at ADCC now, after a whole generation has passed, new grapplers have burst upon the scene. Now you look at last ADCC, who were the stars? Gordon Ryan, Lachlan Giles, Craig Jones, John Blank got to the Final Four in his first ADCC appearance, never trained in the gi ever. Gio Martinez, first time he did ADCC in 2015, he got to the Final Four. He didn't train in the gi. So now we're starting to see, after a generation, that the gi is not necessary. If you just want to train no gi and you just want to do MMA, you don't have to train in the gi. You can train in the gi. The gi is a beautiful thing. It's prestigious, technical. It's a niche thing. It's like chess. Chess is one of the most prestigious games you can play. The royal family plays chess. But you can't put that on pay-per-view. It's different. It's slower, super technical. It's different. It's a beautiful thing. I'm not trying to stomp out the gi game. All I've ever said was there's a difference between the gi and no gi. And not only that, there's a difference between the gi, no gi with a rash guard, big difference. And then there's a big difference between no gi rash guard and no gi with skin. And then you add punches, it's a big difference. time I'd have a full, now just imagine it with a gi. I was doing this in the gi. So the goal was to attack this right arm. I never attacked this arm. I was very one-sided. So in jiu-jitsu, if he's in my full guard, the best defensive place for him to be is with his posture up and hands on my hips or even hands on the ribs. But right here, he's in no danger, all right? Now, if I could break down his posture somehow here, the best place for his elbows are right here in the safe zone, not in. If his right elbow is right here, that means I can armbar him. If his elbow's right there, that means I could simply just armbar him here. Boom, right? It's the placement of his elbow that decide whether I can attack or not. So if this elbow is right here in the middle of my stomach, this is the angle of the arm bar right here. I can simply, boom, take his arm right there. Now, so the whole goal is to get his elbow in the middle of my stomach right here for arm bars. And how are we going to do that? You know, so the setups are all about that. How do I get his elbow there? One basic simple setup is, you know, if you have a gi, man, there's a lot of setups. You could start with the collar here, and then boom, you could push this in. But however you get the elbow in, you have to travel a long way to get this arm bar here. That's a long way. And sometimes you could do it fast enough, but most of the time they're just gonna pull their arm out. Very easy to pull the arm out. All right, so one basic way, simple way, is to just grab his neck here, like this, and push his elbow to that danger zone. And instead of going for the arm bar all at once, we're gonna take away his escape route. His escape route is to pull his elbow back to the safety zone, and even if I went for an arm bar, he'd just pull his arm out. So that's a problem. So although you can't just simply just shoot up for an arm bar, taking away the escape route becomes more important for me. So as soon as you get that elbow to the danger zone, instead of going for the arm bar all at once, we're gonna shoot up and lock his shoulder. So that now, even though I don't have the arm bar and maybe he's protecting here, he can't put his elbow back in the safe zone. He's in the danger zone now because I locked his shoulder. So this was the origins of my guard game. My whole guard game was getting that elbow in the danger zone, keeping it there by trapping his shoulder, or locking the shoulder rather, and then when keeping his shoulder locked while I'm attacking his arm, either in the guard or by sweeping him to his back and finishing the arm bar while he's on his back, which is easier. It's easier to finish arm bars when they're on their back. So the basic route would be, I got him in full guard, I have his posture broken, I hold his head down, and I push his elbow in to the middle of my stomach. It's in the danger zone. I gotta keep it in the danger zone. There's no space between his head and the inside of my left leg. I'm to my side. I'm not locking this shoulder. My right leg looks completely different than my left leg. No space. So now I'm squeezing my knees together and I'm doing leg curls. And it's very important that my left foot is on the bottom and my right foot is on top. If I was switched here, boom, he has more space to come out. So you want to seal it off, seal that space off. So the basic concept of my guard, it all comes from this. This is how it all started. This is all I was doing, was putting the elbow in the danger zone and keeping it there by locking the shoulder. All right, very important motion. So we're here, I shoot my hips up, and I'm squeezing my knees together, squeezing them and doing leg curls. All right, his natural reaction is going to be to protect his right arm because he knows that's the one that's in danger. His left arm is in no danger. So his left arm is going to be on the outside, his right arm is going to be protected on the inside. So from here, the number one goal is to get my deep left hook in, getting this in to his, getting the inside of my left elbow connected to the inside of his right elbow, and reaching to my to my right hip with my left hand, as deep as possible, super deep. You gotta be pushing through, you gotta be reaching for I used to grab my pants and pull down. You want no space between the inside of your elbow and your stomach. You want so that's the goal. I got the shoulder lock, now we gotta boogie and put that deep hook in and prepare at this point for a toss, which means a sweep to spider web. So again, when it comes to the early days of my full guard game, attacking the right arm, pushing the elbow into the danger zone, keeping it there by locking the shoulder. Now at this point, what's the next move? I got his elbow in the danger zone. Many ways you could do that. It's not easy. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes the guy's too strong. You can't move that elbow. All right, but listen, we're just assuming that we did. We just jumped up and we locked the shoulder. He's gonna defend his arm. So what's the next step? Some people like to attack the right arm with your right arm by maybe coming under here. And with the gi, this works really well. You can grab the gi and you can hold the arm here, and then this hand will come across here, boom, and then you pull the leg over and then you grab the arm bar. All right, so traditionally, most people like to attack, in traditional jiu-jitsu, attacking the right arm with your right arm is the correct thing to do and the most popular thing to do. For me, there's only two choices. Am I gonna attack his right arm, which is the one I want to arm bar, with my right arm or my left arm? I only have two choices. I chose to attack his right arm with my left arm for MMA purposes, and there's other purposes as well too. Because if I attack if I put the deep left hook instead of, so we're here, so instead of using this and coming here, at this point, he could punch me with this arm. He could hurt me, so I'd have to defend with this one because I can't defend with my right. I could only defend with my left, so I'm gonna have to be here, and he could be punching me, and I'm defending here. All right, so it's better for just the defensive purposes to attack his right arm with my left arm, putting that deep left hook in, and he tries to punch me with that left arm, with his left arm. This is way better of a defense here. So that's one reason, that's only one, that I chose to attack his right arm with my left arm, so that I could protect my face with my right arm. I could jam. The only arm that can punch me is his left at this point, right? So another reason is it's way easier to finish arm bars when he's on his back. Way easier. So, I mean, I was basically, he's in my guard here, but now he's on his back. I like to attack from here, spider web. The percentages go way up. Very hard for him to pull his arm out when he's on his back. All right? But how do I get him on his back? That's not easy. You have to toss him. Or you can swim. There's two ways to get here. Tossing or swimming. So if I'm gonna toss him, I could only toss him if my right arm is free. I need this to toss. So maybe he bases up here, boom, we're right here. And now he's gonna try to punch me or whatever here. He can punch me, so I gotta defend here. So we're here, I got a deep left hook in and I'm defending. And then I bring the left leg over here. And then when I'm ready to toss, I'm gonna quickly let go of this, C-cup his leg here, open up my legs and toss. And now we're here. This is where we attack. So that's another reason I choose to attack his right arm with my left arm. Because I need my right arm to protect from punches, and I need my right arm to toss him. And once he's already tossed, he's on his back here. Some people like to attack this position this way. Again, the traditional way. I like to attack here because I like to control the legs here. So the deep left hook doesn't change. Ronda Rousey, she'll land here once she sets up arm bars from the guard and then tosses or swims. She'll land here, but then she'll change here and start working for the arm bar the traditional way. I keep everything intact and keep my right arm. My right arm was protecting from punches. My right arm tossed him. And my right arm is going to control these legs and keep him on his back and perhaps help here to open up the arms. All right, so that's another reason I attack the right arm with my left arm. All right, so that's how my guard first developed. That's all I was doing, trying to lock that shoulder, lock that shoulder, put that deep left hook in, toss him, put him on his back, and attack from there. That's really all I did in the beginning with my guard. And with the gi, it was a lot easier to lock that shoulder because you got a big gi on. My legs don't slip down. I got gi pants on, and we're here. Imagine him with a gi, and I'm locked here. Now, if he doesn't have a gi, and I have greasy legs, and I got like little Vale Tudo shorts on, got greasy legs, and he's not wearing anything. No rash guard, my leg slips down. So that became a problem. I got really good at locking the shoulder with the gi, but my legs would slip down when we go no gi. And at first when we do no gi, it was before rash guards were big. So when you went no gi, you went shirtless. And man, it became really slippery. So in my head, I thought, man, this style that I'm developing from the guard with the gi might not work no gi. Because it's hard to lock that shoulder with the greasy legs. So it was a problem. But this was late 90s. And that became my primary game in the guard, was locking the shoulder, and it was easy when there's a gi and you had pants on. So, I think it was, what year was it? Maybe 97, 98, Renzo Gracie is fighting in Pride. It was Pride 1, and I saw him do this. He had someone in his guard, and he was holding like this. He was holding his leg like this. And I thought, wow. He didn't attack from there, but it looked like, man, there was something going on there. Maybe we could start holding our ankles. So from that point, the very first part of rubber guard was just mission control here. I ended up calling this position mission control. So bringing the leg up, and at first I was holding like this with the hand. I didn't know what the best way to hold that foot was. All right, then quickly it evolved that the best way to hold this leg up was wrist to ankle here. Wrist to ankle, boom. Not hand to ankle, hand to foot, but wrist to ankle, right here. Leg as high as possible, and you don't want to be too far underneath them, so at first you might need to put that right foot on the hip and scoot out a little bit to make sure you're not that far. But this became mission control here. And it's mission control when both hands are on the chest, or like on top. If this hand was on the ground here, this is a lot different. It's a big difference. So this position's called New York. All right, so this became the first piece of the rubber guard, no gi. So I thought, okay, my legs aren't slipping down now when we play no gi because I'm actually holding it up with my ankle. And, but I really didn't have that many attacks because locking the shoulder still was hard to do, while you're holding your ankle. So, a Grappler's Quest match back in like 99 or 2000, I did this by accident. I was here, and I did this right here, this position here. And that just became something that I watched on video. I'm like, wow, I wonder if there's something there. And I was just doing this naturally in competition. And I didn't have anything from there, but I was just holding it. I thought, wow, there's another way to keep his posture broken. We're here, mission control. And then this became known as the meat hook, where I'm going over my ankle and into my armpit here. That became known as the meat hook. And then from that point, I decided to start setting up triangles from the meat hook. So the very base, the first rubber guard submission that I developed was the triangle off the meat hook position. It was the very first one. And people are still using it to this day. I use it every now and then. The rubber guard has evolved into all these different paths and branches, and there's so many different options that I use the meat hook now still. If nothing else is working, I'll go back to it, but it's very basic here. Let's say we're at mission control here, and then I was able to get his hand on the mat. And this, it's very important. With this hand on the mat, it makes everything a lot easier. It's harder for him to posture up because the enemy of rubber guard and all guards is posture, right? So if he had both hands here, it's easier for him to push off and posture up. Now no guard is effective at this point. I have to somehow break his posture for me to be able to attack. So if I can get his one hand on the mat, that's all I need. Now it's harder for him to posture up. Whether I'm going for a triangle or an arm bar or a go-go plata or whatever, his hand being on the mat makes it so that if all that fails, I'm at least in an omoplata position here. Safe from punches, and this often leads to sweeps. Boom. So that's why it's important to get that hand on the mat, because omoplatas are only available if the hand is on the mat. If both hands are on the chest, omoplata is impossible. So if I try to go for an omoplata here, look, nothing happens. But if I go for an omoplata, his hands on the mat, there's power, there's juice, sweeps are available, finishes are available. So the triangle setup from the meat hook, we're here at mission control. We managed to break his posture. I managed to get his hand on the mat. That move's called a zombie. That's one way to get that hand on the mat. It's called a zombie. Very important. It comes up a lot. And it's called a zombie because it kind of looks like a hand coming out of the grave. Boom, and we're here. All right, once we get that zombie, what I would do is change to the meat hook here. I would bring this over, stick this hand deep into his armpit, and start attacking his bicep, his inside of his elbow, his wrist, or his hand here. This is the best. This is second best. This is third best. And right here, at least, if he's tight here, at least I got his bicep. There's still hope. All right, but the main purpose of that is to control that arm so that I could pull my right leg out and then hit a triangle. So that became the #1 finish for me in the rubber guard, was going after that triangle from the meat hook. One of my students actually pulled it off in MMA in 2001 or 2002, a Gladiator Challenge. Worked just like that. So the problem with just having that as your whole attack system, just that triangle, is like it's not gonna, just like anything, it's not gonna work all the time, all right? No guard works all the time. We're just looking for higher percentages, that's all. If your guard works 30% of the time, it's a beautiful thing. Most guards don't even work that. So we're just looking to raise the percentage level. So we're here, mission control, the zombie work, so then we switch to meat hook here, and then we start attacking. But if I can't control his arm enough to pull my right leg out, and he's just stuck here, and we just can't control the wrist, we gotta have a backup plan. And the main backup plan from here is to, very important movement, is to clear the neck with my right forearm, boom. Underhook the ankle here. It's just like mission control here, wrist to ankle, but we clear the neck, we make room, hook that wrist to ankle, and then this position here is called chill dog. We're right here because you can get stuck here. And Kimbo Slice, you know, he had a famous fight, and Chill Dog came up, had to name a move, and that's what this position is. This is New York. Once we clear the neck, we're at chill dog. And then this move's called the kung fu move. We're gonna bring the leg over, keep contact with my ankle as my elbow swings out around, and then boom, we blast here, and now we're in an omoplata position. So that became the second option from rubber guard, which became the basic path, really. Early days of rubber guard, the omoplata position was crucial. You had to master that position and all the options from that position, and master the counters to the counters of that position. So early on, getting the omoplata position was one of the main goals. If the triangle didn't work, it was just omoplata. Real simple. Try a triangle, doesn't work, clear the neck, kung fu move. Now we're looking for an omoplata or a sweep. Because in rubber guard, you gotta remember this, when you're developing the rubber guard, a lot of times they turn out to be sweeps and not submissions, which is fine. You got on top, you're on the bottom, you ended up on top, always trying to pass the guard in that sweep. Yeah, that's a basic rule for me personally and for my students. That no matter how you sweep a guy, there has to be a pass involved in that sweep. Simply getting on top and ending up in someone's full guard or someone's open guard, that's not good enough. Sure, you get 2 points, but man, you want to pass in the sweep. So we work on that almost every day, passing in the sweep. So the early days of rubber guard were mission control, meat hook, try a triangle. If the triangle doesn't work, clear the neck, chill dog, kung fu move, and then we're battling from the omoplata position. And that position, although back in the early days, that basic path was called the basic path, still important to this day. But now the rubber guard has evolved so much that there's a lot more ways to finish someone from rubber guard these days, a lot more, and we're gonna get to all of them. But now the omoplata submission or the sweep with the pass is the backup plan now. Before it was the backup plan if you couldn't get the triangle, but it was the most common thing because them triangles were harder and harder to get. So it became, rubber guard was all about the omoplata options, all right? And the options from there, so this is the basic path of the rubber guard. Old school basic path, all right? We're controlling him, we have his posture broken, we're controlling him, we swing our leg up, we fire to mission control here. You could put the foot on the hip, scoot out a little bit. Hopefully the zombie works. Now that puts you into New York. This is a New York position. So, you know, sometimes you're watching MMA and the commentators will call this mission control, which is fine. It's fine, people call this mission control all the time. But really this is New York for the people that know the rubber guard inside and out, all right? So now we're in New York here. We could skip the meat hook triangle attempt and go right to clearing the neck here. Boom, right there. Just keeping the strong ankle to wrist, wrist to ankle, kung fu move, very important. Boom, and then we're right here. As we transition, we got to make sure that his body's blocked and we're blocking his body here and we're pushing this wrist in. All right, because if this arm wasn't here and we were just here, he just simply just jumps to the other side, and not only is he out of danger, but he's inside control now. So anytime you go into an omoplata position, you got to make sure that your arms are doing the right thing. Your arms don't, and your legs are not taking a day off at any time. They have a specific job all the time. So that is the basic path there, minus the meat hook triangle attempt. You can always add that or skip it. Watch my arms as I go into, we're in full guard. This is the basic path, full guard, fire up, a mission control, adjust, zombie works, boom. We could go meat hook, try to push that arm away and try for a triangle here. But if it doesn't work, we clear the neck, chill dog, kung fu move, and look at my arms. It's like transition. This arm's already blocking that body, and this arm's already keeping this arm bent. Very important here. Another thing that's important too, to really secure this position, you can take this hand and reach up, and I'm doing a crunch here to keep this arm, because if he puts his arm to that side, now the omoplata is gone, all right? So we're here, this is called the omoplata clench. If I reach for his far hip, I can stay here, and I'm doing a crunch up here, so he can't pull his arm out. You can stay here and just control him for a while, but eventually, the basic omoplata move is keeping, the goal is to be able to sit up here. This is the hard part, sit up. If I could sit up here and wrap him, now he really can't get to this side. He wants to get to this side. So if I'm down here, he could drive his knee across my belly, boom, that's a big trump. My job is to get it back here, and if I could sit up, now there's no way he could, this is safety for him. He doesn't want any safety. I don't want him over here. So once we sit up, this is the goal in the omoplata. And then the next goal is to sit him on his side. So we can scoot our butt out and pull him down to his side. Once he's on his side, on his hip, then from here, the goal would be to gable grip around his arm, or we can throw a seatbelt here. Either way, I like to hook the arm here. Once you hook the arm here, it's pretty much over. At this point, I'm going to drive my knee down, raise my hips up, and push up off the ground here. And some guys have flexible shoulders. So you keep, the rule is once you raise the hip and drive the knee down, assuming this is locked here, you just keep moving your foot over inch by inch until he taps. All right, so if he didn't tap here, look, I'm gonna keep coming here. And then he'll tap. So that's just the basic omoplata. Now, if his arm pops out here, we don't want to stretch our legs out. We want to keep him tight here. He's still done. As long as we still have this, we're just going to twist his arm right. If he twists, just move your arm along like that. A lot of times they're just like this. The hand was supposed to be here. Right here is the best. My legs can be wide here. Right? But if we lose the arm, now I squeeze my knees together here, and his arm is still trapped. All right, so that's the basic omoplata finish. All right, now he's got several ways to escape. One way would be for him to simply just roll as quickly as he can over his shoulder and then get up on top. And now that's real common. That's super common. That's maybe the #1 way out if a guy's caught in a omoplata. That's what I would do. Some guys posture up. Sometimes we're right here. Some guys posture up and they don't want to roll. So posture, and then we're right here, we're battling. There's no way, as long as he's postured up like that, now go back down, there's no way I could get here. Because if I sit up here and I'm strapped, it's not looking good for him right now. All right, so he knows he doesn't want me here. So he's gonna have incredible posture, and maybe he pulls his arm out, slowly, boom, or he drives his knee through and slowly pulls the way out, right here, or even on the inside, and pulls his arm out. That's what he wants. All right, so if he decides that he could either just roll over his shoulder, he rolls over his shoulder and then gets on top. If I don't react properly, I gotta start all over now. Or he could do a duck under. Wrestlers do this all the time. You're gonna straighten this leg out and then shoot this knee to my hip and then throw me over. I'm right here. There it is, boom. And he could throw me and then end up on top here. Very common position wrestlers like to do. So there's 3 basic ways to counter the omoplata. Roll forward, posture up, limp arm out. If it's really greasy and you got greasy legs and he's got greasy shoulders, that's a very common way. The duck under, those are the 3 basic ones I'm gonna cover for the counters. And again, this is all early rubber guard, but also very important for modern day rubber guard, because all the omoplata stuff that I'm showing you now, that's when all the high level, updated, new stuff doesn't work. You find yourself in an omoplata battle because the gogoplata didn't work, the gogo clinch didn't work, the Frodoplata didn't work, Locoplata didn't work, the Hazlitt didn't work, Death from Below didn't work. We're gonna go over all that. All those submissions from rubber guard, when they don't work, you end up in the omoplata position, which again was the main fight in the early days. It was always about those omoplatas, and either I'm gonna tap you with an omoplata or I'm gonna use that sweep, use your escape against you to create a sweep and a pass. We've gone over the early basic path of the rubber guard, which was mainly battling from the omoplata position. Gogoplatas were in the mix, but not the way they are now. Nowadays, gogoplatas are way more high percentage and refined. And the first goal, really, we want to get them in gogoplatas. But to understand the modern day rubber guard game, you have to understand where it came from and how it led to where it's at now. So we're you know, all the omoplata battles and options are crucial even today. The only difference is they used to be more of a priority, more of the go-tos, and now they're the backup plan. All right, so still very important. You want strong backup plans. So this is basically how I deal with omoplata counters, and this is very, very, very important. So when we're here, when we're battling here, this becomes very important again, because his best way out is to knee slice here and end up on this side. I just blew it all. I blew it. Or he could simply just jump over. He could just jump over. If I don't have any control, he's here, and now he's really, really, really in good shape, and I really messed up. The first counter to his counter is, because I'm so worried about him getting to this side, this arm becomes huge. It's a clinch, it's a steel claw, all right? So if he decides to roll over his right shoulder and get on top, he rolls over his right shoulder and get on top, boom, and then he gets on top really quick. I gotta stop that. I gotta be ready for that, all right? So I gotta be ready so if he decides to roll and I'm clinched, he's gonna pick me up with him, and once I'm up, I'm going to get really tight here, and now I'm here in twister side control. And we can go right into fishnets immediately. So as long as I'm ready for that escape, that's one escape, him just rolling over his right shoulder quickly. If I'm ready for it, always ready for it, it's never going to work. And not only is it never going to work, it's going to give me a sweep, and if I'm in total control and I'm always looking for a pass, it's gonna give me a sweep and a pass. So that makes the rubber guard super effective when it comes to sweeps, all right? So this particular sweep worked twice in the UFC in the same fight. Matt Horowitz, who's one of my students, this was like maybe 10, 13 years ago when he fought Dan Miller in the UFC. He did this exact same thing that I'm showing you right now, twice in the same fight. He put Dan Miller in rubber guard. They ended up in an omoplata position. Dan Miller rolled out. Matt Horowitz was expecting the roll, used that roll against him, used it to pick himself up, and he got on top twice. Imanari did it to Jean Silva in Cage Warriors in London. Jean Silva, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Imanari, known for his leg locks. Jean Silva takes Imanari down, ends up in Imanari's guard. Imanari, mission control, cleared the neck, chill dog, kung fu move, ended up in an omoplata position. And the only difference is when Jean Silva rolled, Imanari got up and they both stood up, and then they were standing. So for a striker, the basic path is huge, like in MMA. If you just want to strike and your opponent wants to take you down, you just put him in mission control, try to get to the omoplata position, omoplata battle, control the roll, let him try to roll out and use that to stand up. It's already been proven. So again, the counter to the roll is always be like, these hands are very important. If he rolls up super fast and gets up on top, boom, and he gets up on top, I have no control. I got to start all over, all right? So now he tries to roll super fast, so he picks me up, and then I let him go through. So rubber guard worked for a sweep and a pass. I was on the bottom, now I'm in side control. Huge. So another count, that's very important. You have to, that's probably the most common scenario in rubber guard right there, is you end up in an omoplata situation, he tried to roll out, you controlled his roll, used the roll against him, and you used it as a sweep and a pass, all right? Another counter is the duck under now. He's gonna straighten this leg and then shoot this knee through. If I just hold tight the whole way through, he's gonna use that momentum, boom. So initially in the omoplata position, I'm clenched up. Leg curls are on, I'm keeping him down. I'm super tight. And then if he times that duck under right, and I remain tight, he's gonna throw me across the room. But if I anticipate that that's one of his counters, then I know as soon as he goes for it, that move takes a long time to complete, plenty of time to react correctly. And the correct reaction is to go limp in midair, in the middle of that duck under, go limp and face the legs, spin towards the legs. If you can do that, doesn't take that long to get that in your DNA, then you're ready for two of the most common escapes from the omoplata position, all right? So it looks like this. I'm clamped down, I'm real heavy, and in this position here, he could throw me across the room, but he tries to throw me across the room, I go limp, and I face his legs right into a fishnet. And we start attacking the trunk. That's a very important transition to have mastered. Very important in the rubber guard, I can't stress this enough, to have your omoplata position mastered. And the quickest way to do that is by starting there live and going live. Put it in the curriculum. Go live. When are you working on your live omoplata drills? We do it on F day. Whenever it's warm-ups F day, after we blast through the warm-ups in 15 minutes, we're gonna do some live rubber guard drills, and a lot of the time we start right from the omoplata position. We just put time into it. You have to put time. It's the only way you master all positions, is start there, live drill situations, and keep putting time in that little position over and over and over and over, and then you become a master. That's how the body works. It's just time. So, one more time. One thing that you have to get out of your DNA is, in this situation, we're gonna do it in slow motion, and as he does the duck under, when a lot of guys will go, oh, they'll look at the head and want to face the head, and then it becomes a scramble, and then you lost everything. That's the natural thing. I see it, I've seen this since the day I started teaching in 2003. In that situation, you look at the head, you want to face the head, but he has an underhook. You just have the head. It's not a good idea to face the head. Although you could, depending on the angle of the duck under, if he tries the duck under again, sometimes guys will try to put a triangle here. They'll try to get a triangle here, and sometimes I've seen it work. It's just lower percentage. In my opinion, as long as you have fire from side control, and I always try to push twister side control. Everything for me comes from twister side control. You know, once you're on top. So I like to spin the opposite way. He does the duck under, boom. I'm gonna spin towards the legs, and we're gonna be right here. Very common when battling in the omoplata position. That's the unwinder right there. This one When he rolls, and we control it, when he rolls over, boom, and we control this is called the DA. The DA. Because we forced him to roll. I didn't make up that name. But that one's the DA suite, omoplata suite. Now, also, when you're battling from this position here, if he postures up, you can also look for triangles here. Nogueira did that in Pride. Rodrigo Nogueira. Again, when you're battling from the omoplata position, a triangle is always in the mix. It's always on the menu. All right? So that's the basic path, the basic rubber guard. That's the first 3, 4, 5 years of 10th Planet. That's what we really, really hit. Mission control, zombie, meat hook to a triangle possibly. If that doesn't work, clear the neck, chill dog kung fu move, and then battle from the omoplata. Either finish the omoplata or get a sweep and a pass off the omoplata. That's the basic path right there.